Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. Welcome to the first video in the 23-24 FPL season. We do have a few weeks to go before that game week 1 deadline. I put my first draft together for you to have a look at. I'm going to go through the fixtures, the players who I've chosen, why, which formation I'm looking at, but no doubt quite a few things will still make me change my mind before that game week 1 deadline, transfer, injury news, selections, friendly results, all that sort of thing going on between now and the first game week. At the end, stick around because I'm going to go through those players that I think are pretty much, I don't like to use the word nailed, but looking to be in that first 11 for the game week 1. And then I'm going to look at a lot of different other options. So hopefully, guys, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. And in the meantime, let's take a look. Let's start off by having a look at our goalkeepers. Now, I have picked Jordan Pickford and I've gone for Areola. Areola's quite an easy pick because if he, as we suspect he might, be given the #1 jersey for West Ham, 4 million, it's a bit of a no-brainer. I don't think his fixtures are anything to write home about, and I'm not sure I can trust him to start many games for West Ham. I don't think I trust their defence enough, but his fixtures are okay, and at 4 million, I just think he's a playing goalkeeper. He's a backup should anything happen to Jordan Pickford, and I just don't want to have to mess around with transfers with goalkeepers, especially in the early parts of the season when we're going to be jumping on players looking to move quite quickly on things. I just don't want to be ending up spending a transfer on a player at a goalkeeping position. At 4.5, I'm not even 100% set on Jordan Pickford. Don't think... My opinion is that Everton are probably going to struggle again this season. His fixtures are quite nice, but at 4.5, we're not blessed with a huge amount of choice. There are other choices if you want to move up to 5 million. Also, if we did know that Sanchez or Steele was perhaps starting, then they could become an option for Brighton. But at the moment, I'm going to stick with Jordan Pickford. I do think he's got a bit of save points potential, but 4.5, I'm just happy, I think, at this moment in time to not want to spend any more than that. The ceiling for a goalkeeper is not enough points-wise to make me want to spend more. Things may change. If a few other budget players suddenly appear, look likely, then yeah, maybe I can increase and put money in. The only one I just wanted to have a look at is I could gamble on Palace maybe and have Guaita and Johnson. I've covered my bases then. The same with West Ham for Areola and Fabianski. The only other one at 4 million, possibly Bentley finish the season for Wolves, but their fixtures do not look good. And I'm not sure, again, I want Areola and Bentley at 4 million, but it would save me money that could be vital to use elsewhere. But at the moment, I'm going for Pickford and Areola. The only thing one of those I think is absolutely sure about is possibly Areola, and I'll say that with possibly. Pickford, not 100% sure about him, but at 4.5, I think he's the best of the 4.5 picks. Looking at the midfield, the defence then, Ben White, I think at 5.5 is a decent price. It's a fair price, and I do want an Arsenal defender. Those fixtures for the first few weeks season just look brilliant for Arsenal. Zinchenko's possibility. Ben White, for me, he looks pretty nailed, versatility, and he did have quite a few assists last season as well. So I'm pretty happy going for Ben White. It's feels a bit of a boring and safe pick. But at the start of the season, I think their fixtures are so good. I just want to pick up on 3 Arsenal players, and I do want one of their defenders. Tyrone Mings, I think for the first game, I'm probably going to just end up benching him away at Newcastle. But after that, fixtures look pretty good. Villa as well, spending pretty heavily. So Mings looks pretty nailed on in that defence. Like I said, first week on the bench, probably ended up playing, so maybe a 3-5-2 formation with Henry alongside him at 4.5. Best attacking defender, I think, in terms of Brentford. Decent fixtures again, but he could well be benched for that first game against Tottenham. Estepinian, what a season he had last year. And again, unless Brighton spy anyone else in, it doesn't look like he's got a lot of competition in that fullback space. But I'm not going to even mention the Arsenal game last season where I think he got goal and assist, a clean sheet, bonus points galore. So he was a bit of a legend last year. Fixtures look fantastic for Brighton. Estepinian, straight in, 5 million, absolute no-brainer. And the other one, Luke Shaw. 5 out of their first 8 games are at home. Luke Shaw looks like as well, Telles having gone, being sold. It looks like Shaw pretty much left back. It could be his berth, and as long as he's not moved into that centre back place, I think he's got good attacking potential. Difficult game second week away at Tottenham, but those two Wolves at home, Forest at home in weeks 1 and 3. Wow, I definitely think there's points for clean sheets and attacking potential there as well. So that makes up my midfield. Would I think be 3-5-2 formation I'll be playing in the first week with Mings and Henry on the bench? But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't see at the moment many changes from that. So let's move into midfield. Talked about Arsenal and how their fixtures look so good. I think the pick of the attackers in midfield's got to be Saka for the same price as Odegaard. Do you think he's on pens? And in a short race, 2 or 3 games, maybe Odegaard could pick him. But I do feel over the course of a season, Saka is going to outscore him. So I'm pretty happy to go on him. And Buemo at 6.5. Pens playing up front unless Brentford sign another striker. Given that Tony's out, just seems like an absolute shoe-in at 6.5. I've gone in Cisco and Mitoma. I don't know. Cisco is one that worries me. Mitoma don't have so many reservations. We know what he can do. He looked great. 6.5 seems a really fair price. And Cisco's a little bit of a risk, I think. I don't know about his minutes. Where's João Pedro going to play? If you also go, is it Buonanotte? So Cisco finished the season really well. If he plays pre-season games, if we get an idea that he's going to be playing games, I think he could be brilliant at 5 million, but the minutes worry me. I don't really see a lot of 90-minute finishes either, but at 5 million, possibly worth the risk. But the only problem is he is taking up a Brighton slot where they've got such great fixtures. I'm not sure I want to do that. I could go for a safer option, just bring March in or someone like that. And then lastly, Rashford. Again, I just think he's been playing up front. Martial injured again. I don't think he's got a lot of competition for that striker's berth. As down as a midfielder still, just feels like a no-brainer. 9 million, I'm happy to pay that. Rashford, 30 goals last season? He's just got to come in. Up front, there's no huge surprises. I think Jesus, the one thing, I'll come back to Jesus in a minute. We know all about his fixtures. Haaland, I'm not even going to talk about that. He has to come in. I don't want to be hiding behind the sofa in the first week away at Burnley or even in that third week at Sheffield United. And Ollie Watkins, I think he's nailed on up front for Villa. Also has penalties in his back pocket as well. Fixture-wise, I think at Everton, he'll probably, away at Newcastle, he'll probably end up on the bench. But then Everton at home, Burnley away, yeah, he's got to come in. I like Ollie Watkins. 90 minutes man as well. Set and forget. Had a great season last season. Jesus then was the other one. I just don't see, and there's no other standout or obvious picks up front. And I do want 3 Arsenal players given their fixtures. And Jesus just fits that. I can see his minutes being shared a little bit more with Havertz. And until the season starts, I don't think we're going to know quite how that European rotation is going to go. But those fixtures are great. Arsenal's still going to score goals and be attackingly potent. I just think Jesus, even if he gets some of his minutes reduced, I still think he's going to get enough playing time at 8 million to want him to be playing in that side. I think he looks good. And like I said, there isn't a lot of other players at the moment that really stand out as being obvious. Wilson potentially looks a good option, but I don't think Newcastle's fixtures look particularly appealing. So unless I just end up going Watkins, Haaland and maybe putting in a really cheap striker, but then I do want that third Arsenal player, and then out of that midfield or upgrade in Cisco, that could be an option. But Saka and Buemo, Mitoma and Rashford look really good. I think if I was getting rid of Cisco, I'd probably still want another Brighton player in there. So that doesn't give me a lot of wriggle room. So that Arsenal slot up front probably going to stay with Jesus. So out of this side that I've got at the moment, I'm going to go through the ones. When I'm putting Wildcard together, I would pretty much go with the players that I feel I definitely want. I wouldn't normally work from goalkeeper, defender, midfield, attacker. I would just go, right, these are the players I want, and then start filling them around. Areola just looks like an absolute shoe-in, 4 million. If he gets that number 1 jersey, which it looks like he could be on the way to getting, 4 million, playing goalkeeper, got to come in. Estepinian, yes, I think he's the obvious choice in that Brighton defence. 5 million, good price as well. Luke Shaw, nailed. And Buemo, because he's playing up front. Rashford, Saka and Haaland. All of those are pretty much my set in stone. Unless anything happens drastically, those are the players that I'm going to be sticking with. And then it's filling in those other blanks to find out who goes alongside them and what budget I can have. Trent's an interesting one. I just don't know about Trent. He finished the season so well. I'm undecided. Obviously, it's the price of 8 million. playing so far forward, getting assists, getting goals, getting bonus points galore. I'm going to have to look into that, I think, a little bit more. Puts me off, yes, Chelsea away. Then you've got that Bournemouth at home, Newcastle. It says 2 tricky fixtures in the first 3, but Bournemouth at home. Well, we know what happened last year. I can't see a repeat of that, but it does worry me a little bit. At 8 million here is just a lot. Yes, you are paying for a sort of midfielder playing defence, but you are playing for 8 million, so it's raising that money. That could be an issue. But Trent, I haven't ruled it out. We'll wait and see what sort of money I can get together. Reece James is another one. Difficult first game of the season, but the fact they haven't got European football is a real sort of eye-opener for me for Chelsea. I really like the look of Chelsea assets. Reece James, for me, I can definitely see coming in. He will not be rotated much because he just has no need to. Right back, we know what he can do. I think Pochettino playing a high pressing game, which he started off at Southampton, and those fullbacks in those days, Chambers and Shaw, would really bomb on. And as we know, Reece James doesn't need any invitation to get forward. So if you've ever owned him before playing FPL, you know how explosive he can be. Midfield, I've got Maddison. He's an option as well. I'm not entirely sold on him yet. I'd like to see how he's going to bed in at Tottenham before throwing myself into that one. Salah, again, it's that game against Bournemouth, which is scary, but he's so expensive. Can I get him and Haaland into the side? Got to consider it. And Kunku's interesting because he was on penalties in a friendly the other day. He's been really bigged up by Pochettino, him and Jackson playing well. Could they play together? He says definitely so. Jackson needs more time to bed in, he thinks. And Kunku, great seasons he's had in the Bundesliga. 7.5 looks a good call. Do I just start with him? Or do I just wait and see how Chelsea set up? I could go for someone like Ferguson for 6 million. He looks really cheap. I think there's a better option instead, though. And I don't really want to use a Brighton player that I'm worried about the minutes. He's got Welbeck, Undav, João Pedro now. How does Ferguson fit in with all that? I'm sure he'll get minutes, but I'm just not sure how he's going to fit in. So that's a worry for me, even though he looks really good and he has really good fixtures. Other players that I definitely want to consider, with 5 out of the first 8 games, I think Bruno is an outstanding option, but it's just how to fit him into that midfield. Could be that I can downgrade maybe up front, maybe just lose Watkins, downgrade him to a much cheaper forward, and then upgrading Xisco to Fernandes. But then I'm only playing with 2 Brighton players, but I do have the 3 Man United players. Fernandes on pens, he's a regular starter. Chilwell instead of James, that's the other option. I think if I knew both had the same sort of lead up in pre-season, I would prefer James over Chilwell. But who knows? I don't know. If we get news that Chilwell perhaps has had a better pre-season, they're both injury prone. Maybe Chilwell perhaps less so. Got more games at the end of last season, so maybe that's something to consider on those safer options. And Grealish looks like a really interesting one. I really liked him at the start of the season. Then I went off him because it's just minutes. You never can guarantee it with Manchester City. But then you look at the fact that Mahrez is possibly going if he hasn't gone already. Bernardo Silva, talk about him going. Gundogan has left already as well. So suddenly there doesn't appear to be many options in that Man City midfield. And I'm sure Pep will have ideas about who to bring in and who to play there. But Grealish, he played so often last season there. 7.5, if he's playing every week, I think he's got to come in. A Man City midfielder attacking, you know what they can do. 7.5 looks a good price as well. On top of that, Pedro as well, playing for Brighton. Again, it feels like a brave call, but how cheap is he to bring in up front? 5.5. Great fixtures. If he's on penalties as well, took one in the friendly against Chelsea, so that was quite interesting. The only worry again is just minutes. Where does he fit into that side, and how many minutes is he going to get? Jackson we've talked about as well, cheaper than Kunku. But again, Pochettino's come out and just said perhaps going to take a little while to bed, so that's a concern as well. And the other one as well was Villa. Diaby. Now, he hasn't got great fixtures to start with, but he did really well in the Bundesliga. He's got an XGI of something like 0.59. XGI is not something we've talked about a great deal in this video, but we will do as the season goes on. That's really good. It's one of the top expected goal involvement players outside of the likes of Borussia and Bayern Munich. And you'd imagine playing for Villa that much money, he is going to come in and he could be a wild card and asset. If he came in somewhere around 5.5, I think he'd be really someone to consider. I don't think he's going to come in that cheap. We'll have to wait and see. Possibly 7.5. We'll just have to wait and see and look out for that space. That's it for this one then, guys. Let me know who's in your team at the moment. Who do you think is going to make that first week 11 after all the dust is settled and your drafts are over? Who is going to be guaranteed to be in your side? And don't put Haaland. We're all going to assume that he's going to be in. In fact, if you haven't put him in, tell us why in the comments below. We'll be with you for the rest of the season. Remember, we've got team selection, top tips, transfer videos, all that good stuff. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and we'll speak to you before that game week 1 deadline to update our side and see what has changed. In the meantime, take care. Speak to you soon.